So now we can get started. Okay, so welcome everyone to the student dialogue where we're going to discuss sustainability education in business school. It's a very interesting topic and we're going to discuss why this is important in business school, how the status is today in business school connected to sustainability and education, and what we can do to improve this topic. With me today, I have Sadna, Rokaya, Jeffrey and Arsh. I am very pleased to introduce you. I would like us to go around so you can tell me a little bit about where you are, where you're studying and what you're studying to start with. So Sadhana, would you like to start?
Sure. So hi everyone, my name is Sadhana and I'm from India. I'm currently pursuing my MBA in Finance from SP Jain Institute of Management and Research, which is based in Mumbai in India. It's a great pleasure to be here and I'm looking forward to this discussion.
Thank you. Rokaya?
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Ruqayya. I'm from Yemen. I'm a business student majoring in supply chain and logistics management. And this is my last semester, so I'll be graduating very soon.
Nice. And Jeffrey?
Hi everyone, I'm Jeffrey. I've already graduated. I studied accounting and management. I'm from New Zealand and I graduated from Victoria University of Wellington and I'm now working at PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Thank you. And Arsh?
Hi everyone, so my name is Arsh. I am currently I'm currently pursuing my honors in international business management at Monash University, Malaysia, but I'm originally from Bangladesh. And yeah, I'm looking very forward to this discussion.
Amazing. It's going to be very interesting to hear what you have to say about the sustainability education in business school. So to start with, I think we should discuss why this matters in the first place. Why it is so important to include sustainability education in business schools. So is there anyone who would like to start on this?
So I can go ahead.
Thank you.
Sustainability, like by definition, is basically, looking after our needs without compromising the future generations' needs. But I feel our understanding of sustainability is often very limited to just the environment, like the physical environment that we live in. I too was very guilty of this, limited understanding of sustainability till very recently. So at SPJMR, which is my school, I was a part of the DOCC and Sustainability Committee. So one of the first things our professors told us that sustainability is not just limited to the ecological environment, but to a larger sense of the planet, which could be social, which could be health related, which could be cultural. And I think this awareness needs to be spread across people and schools. I think business schools and companies, for that matter, they're wealth generators, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in the obvious economic sense, but also in the kind of people that they develop. So like we say today, like the current generation is the trustee of the future. So it completely depends on us as to what kind of a world we want to leave behind. And I think sustainability education is very important in terms of creating those empathetic and responsible managers and leaders of tomorrow. I think that's why sustainability education matters.
Thank you. So Jeffrey, do you have anything to add to this or do you agree?
Yeah, I fully agree with what Sadhana says. I think that in addition, it gives students a different perspective to think on. I think the traditional business, I guess, like students' mindset, doesn't really have, I guess, the sort of perspective that sustainable education can give them. So I think broadly speaking, that's what I think, is quite useful for sustainability education. I think for New Zealand specifically, our country is moving into I want to call it a progressive period where the government is trying to push more biculturalism. So we are fortunate to have, we're working on the relationship with our Indigenous people. So they're called the Māori, and one of their principles is called kaitiaki, which basically stands for being guardians of the land. So rather than the traditional sense of thinking you can own a piece of land. The way Māori think of like land ownership is just, it's, you know, no one really owns it. It's your job to protect the land, protect the sea, protect the sky. And I think a lot of those principles can be really useful for like shaping our young students' minds with education, with sustainable education. And I think, you know, culture is a big part of that sustainability. And yeah, so I guess for New Zealand, that's why I think it's really important that we do teach that in business schools.
Thank you. That's very interesting. So, Rokaya, do you have something you want to add to this too?
Well, yes, first of all, I agree with both of them. Sustainable education is a very important tool that really indicates that we are thinking, growing, learning, and acting responsibly towards improving all the environmental, social, economic aspects of life. And I really think that the big goal here is that we're trying to change the mindset and the behavior of people, or as my professors describe it, the future leaders of this generation and the next one.
Yeah, that's very well said. So Ash, what do you think it matters?
Well, I'm happy that everyone's on the same page and we all agree that it's very important that sustainable education should be widespread and prevalent in the current generation. What I believe, and I'm not trying to put blame at anybody in any generation whatsoever, I believe that the absence of sustainable education in prior generations might have led them to have a perspective to ignorance towards certain things. And our generation, thankfully, our universities were currently integrating sustainability education in our business school, in our curricula, is allowing us to see the world in a different view. It allows us to recognize things and create differences because we're more aware of what our responsibilities are, not to just ourselves, but our communities, our culture, our values, our beliefs, everything. So I believe that when, you know, in a current generation where we have more access to greater facilities and we are more interconnected throughout the world, and it gives us a greater platform that perhaps the previous generation did not have, it allows us to create greater differences. So right now, the prominence of sustainable education is at its peak, and it is allowing us to create much massive differences. And we hope to create positive differences for future generations.
Yes, thank you very much. You're also mentioning that your school is already working with sustainability. So can you explain a little bit more about that, how it's embedded in the business school, how sustainability education in general is embedded in the curriculum or in units? Arsh, sorry.
All right, yes, I'm so sorry, yeah. Basically, it has already existed. It was already there that we had certain amount of we put certain amount of significance in our units that had sustainability, because like post 2015, when the United Nations developed the SDG framework and the businesses were supposed to it came into effect in 2016, and they were trying to integrate that within their own fundamental structure so that they can create a positive outlook to have a more responsible image. I feel like that already had integrated into our curriculum in a smaller basis, but only recently my university, and this is from my experience, has an entire unit dedicated to just sustainability and ethics. So I feel like that's a very big move forward, because now the entire topic is not just about how can businesses make money through corporate social responsibility, or how it should it should take SDGs into account, because if it doesn't, it will not look good to its customers, to its stakeholders, but an entire unit just about caring for what's around you rather than about yourself. And that I feel is like a leap forward towards progression.
Okay, thank you. So in India, Sadhana, how is it embedded in the university today? And if it's not, how would you suggest it to be embedded?
So I think a lot of universities are taking the step of, including sustainability as a part of their curriculum. Particularly if I talk about my school, its core lies in value-based education. So there are a lot of programs, in fact, they're mandatory units that we need to cover, which are credit-based courses, which are related to sustainability education. So one such one is we have a rural immersion project, wherein students actually go to rural parts of India and work with communities on various projects, whether it be about clean water, whether it be about sanitation, or communities affected by livelihoods and all those kind of things. So it kind of gives you a ground zero reality. So it helps you walk the talk, because I feel sustainability is a subject which cannot just be taught in a classroom. You need to experience it, and experiential learning can, drive this in a great manner, I feel. And like I said, so a university has many courses. So this is just one of them. And I think throughout this conversation, I think I'll maybe introduce more to all of you.
Okay, thank you. And Ruqayya, how do you think sustainability should be embedded? Oh, did we lose her? Jeffrey, would you like to add something? Meanwhile, I guess she will jump into the meeting again.
Yeah, sure thing. So I guess the embeddedness at my business school has been a bit of a mixed experience for me. So when I first came into university, at the very surface level, for a lot of my first year courses, there'd just be a slide at the end with the SDGs, and the lecturer talks a little bit about it. And I can't say that, that Sadhana said that, there's mandatory courses. So there's no real mandatory sustainability course at my university yet. But as going through my university career, a lot of the more advanced papers do implement case studies. But one of my best experiences was getting to take part in this. One of our lecturers, she co-founded this thing called the Global Enterprise Experience, and it's basically an entire paper, but you basically have to come up with your own social enterprise based around an SDG goal, and you work with people around the world to come up with something and present and come up with a report. And I was really privileged to do that. So I guess there is a lot of embeddedness, for lack of a better word, but I'd say it comes in different levels at my university.
So you're talking about the SDGs, and I would like to hear from both Arsh and Sadhana. Does the SDG come up in the curriculum in your universities? Do you use them, or do you use a different kind of framework in the education? Arsh, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure, I don't mind. As I said, like before, SDG is the guiding framework that we use and apply. It's just a very basic amount of knowledge. It's like very superficial, obviously, because once you look into the SDG framework and you search, most of my peers, coming from my experience, when I bring up SDG, they're like, okay, SDG. All right, those blue and white tiles, those blue and green tiles that we see around, like when we're walking around in buildings, I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, I know about it. I was like, okay, that's great, but how much do you know about it? And they're like, oh, I know that, SDG 8 is poverty or something like that. Like they just know they just know what it is by the name and the tile. And I'm like, okay, but you have to get a little bit more in-depth knowledge about it. So yeah, it is, while it is the guiding framework, it does not provide that in-depth knowledge, because most students just go ignorant, like being like completely oblivious to it. They're like, they just know that poverty, all right, give money to the poor and they'll be all right. You just achieved SDG, but that's not it. There's much more to it. And I believe that's what's lacking in current curriculum and could be worked on a little bit more, is just that you divulge into the knowledge that goes behind it. It's just not that simple. And as Sadhana said, it's really important that curriculum has a very direct interaction with set people that you can, if you're in a certain social environment that allows you to recognize all the SDGs firsthand and then apply it within your own initiative to make changes, that's the best way you can learn. And yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Sadnad, would you like to add something to that?
Yeah, sure. I think I pretty much agree with what Arsh just said. But having said that, I think at my school, we've been practicing sustainability or social justice and all these, topics long before SDGs actually came into the picture. So for us, it's primarily just an alignment now to the SDGs. But having said that, the concept of SDGs or there is a lack of awareness is what I feel. Like I'm not sure if people really know what the SDGs are, what they stand for. We do have all these projects and everything, but it's not something that's very structured. That okay, this is putting to this SDG. That awareness is not there. We've tried our initiatives. We have actually come up with an initiative called Sustainability Shorts, which is basically like a newsletter, and it kind of introduces you to SDGs. We send out introductory videos, and we'll cover like it's sort of like a sustainability short is a newsletter which basically covers the sustainability initiatives taken by different corporates in India, for instance. So that was just a step towards increasing the awareness regarding SDGs. But yeah, I think it needs to be better implemented and better informed in business schools and other institutions likewise.
Do you mean sustainability on or the SDGs in general?
I think both. SDGs being a framework, I think people know that it exists, but again, there's a lot. It covers a huge area, which I guess people are not very aware of. So that needs to be better informed to people.
Okay, thank you. Rokaya, you're back. Perfect.
Yes, I'm sorry, disconnected.
That's okay. So we have been talking about how well sustainability is embedded in business schools. So
Yes.
how is it at your school? And to add upon that question, what focus do sustainability get? Is it environmental? Is it social, economical? Is it a holistic view, or how does it work in your university?
Okay, well, first, University of Dubai do provide us with a lot of opportunities. We have like internships and industrial projects where we get to work in a field collaborating with small sustainable businesses, where we get to interview them and understand how businesses actually operate sustainably. And other than that, we have some of the courses that are mandatory and some of them that are elective, like sustainability. We have critical and creative thinking, business and society. And even before internships, during our group projects, we are exposed and to companies where we interview them and understand what they actually do. And most of the group projects or maybe the internships really focus on, it's more of a holistic view. It doesn't really focus on one aspect, because I believe that all aspects are equally important. So that is one part of it. Another part is the university has the accreditation called ACSSB, and basically it just means that the business school is providing its highest quality of education to its students, and that accreditation enabled the university to have so many committees. One of them, of course, is the pyramid committee, and so many other organizations and clubs that just emphasize the type of relationships that students have among themselves and with the top management, which in my opinion is very crucial.
Okay, well, that's very interesting. Is there anyone who would like to add upon this, having this holistic view of sustainability, or is it too focused on environmental, like Sadna, you were talking about this before? How is it in New Zealand, for instance?
So at my university, I think they've done a pretty good job of teaching the SDGs as a holistic package. I know that they're currently in development, putting it through the pipework of making a new minor in ethical leadership and sustainability. And I've talked to the lecturer, and he said that course will be focused on the SDGs and taking that holistic approach to teaching, which I think is really awesome. That being said, I do resonate with, like Sadana, some of the other points that people make on it's, this, like, if the way I put it for a student is, if you want to learn about sustainable education and you want, you're really into learning about SDGs, the opportunities are 100% there. It's just that it's not so blatantly put in your face that it's obvious, you can't ignore it. So I think that's what I would, yeah.
Okay. So Arsh, you were also talking a little bit about students' attitude, students' willingness to learn about sustainability in depth. They only know about sustainability on the surface, if I got it correctly. Yes. So how is it in the other?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Yes. How is it in the other universities in general amongst business students? How is the attitude amongst both the students and the professors and the school, you would say, connected to sustainability? Sarhana, would you like to start? That's fine.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Go.
Sarhana, you can go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
All right. No. Okay. From my experience in my university, I'm actually quite proud to say that business school has been working like haphazardly and very informatively about how to put sustainability development goals in front of the students at all times. So they have taken a very holistic approach to it and have emphasized on each and every single aspect of it, whether it be clean water, or whether it be just reuse and recycling, or whether it be gender equality, which is a lot, and which has come up much more importance in recent years. You know, especially in the pandemic, it allowed us to have a more it gave us more time, a void basically, to reflect upon, you know, certain actions we've taken within our normative circles as well that could be rather irresponsible, just because just for a little lack of words, irresponsible. And well, in my business school, because they've ensured that it was a constant reminder in every unit we took that sustainable development goals are actually essential in current era, and to pay respects to it in every single decision you're making. Because as the future, you know, change makers and global leaders and corporate landscape designers, as you say, it is our utmost responsibility, because we have a very direct relation with stakeholders that have an immediate control over how consequences can happen if we go about ignoring SDGs. So in a business school, I feel like it is the utmost important, like, to have SDGs in mind, because, you know, we're going to be working in that environment directly. So, but what I actually would like to see is, and I'm not sure, because of a lack of knowledge in that area, I hope it's not the same, and I hope I go corrected, that it's not just the business school that's focusing on it, and it becomes sort of like a constant teaching across every school, whether it be School of Arts, School of Pharmacy, School of Medicine, whatever, everywhere it's applicable to have SDGs, because, you know, it's SDG. Once again, I as agreed to Sadhana, it's like a lot of people think SDG is about the environment and planting more trees, and not like trying to not drive around using diesel anymore. And that's just not it. It can be applied to various field expertise. And I hope that it is constant throughout, just not business school, but every other school as well. Yeah.
Yes. So we have been talking about this, that we want to have it as a holistic, more mainstream thing in school that is embedded in everything. So going back to the attitudes a little bit, how would you say that attitudes is around this? I know that some people say that sustainability is a buzzword. So what do actually students say about sustainability? Are they motivated, engaged? What's the level of that attitude in the business schools? Jeffrey, you wanted to comment on this before?
Oh, yeah. So I think at my business school, there are definitely a lot of champions for change. So I think one of our lecturers has also organized a high profile, like a speaker series with like externally funded chairs, and our faculty get to relate their work specifically to the SDGs. So there are definitely a lot of champions within, I guess, like the professors side of things. I guess with the students, it's sort of, you know, it's like I can't really group the student attitude as a whole, because some people are like real into their sustainability, and other people are just don't really care that much. But I think I see a lot of positive change for the business school as a whole, and I see a lot of attitude and mindsets shifting. That being said, I think Wellington is probably the most progressive city out of New Zealand, which is a good thing for a lot of these new initiatives that we want to push. But I think, overall the student attitude is improving, and like there's definitely a lot of interest to go beyond that just environmental sort of thinking. And I think a few students do get a little bit overwhelmed by the SDGs just because there's so many of them. They're kind of like, oh, how do I apply them? This comes all at them. But I think as the university, I guess, implements more of that sort of teaching, I think they'll grow to appreciate that a lot more.
That's good to hear. So how is it in Dubai? How is the attitudes in universities?
So at the very beginning, I can say that we've worked on changing the concept and perception of sustainability and environment. So once that changed, I could say that their perception of the students in universities have changed and did really improve. And once that improved, they got even more engaged in all the initiatives or programs that was initiated, whether by the university or the student union. So they're more engaged into in competitions or in programs or webinars. So there's definitely more awareness about this. And there's committees, and in our university, committees and clubs dedicated to do that. So every single week we have a new event. Every single week we have a new webinar that really just works on raising the awareness. And then later on, after we've done that, we get to just take the next level or the next step.
Thank you. And in India, Sadhna?
Yeah, I completely agree with what everyone just said. I think business schools and everyone in general, I think, are becoming more accepting of sustainability and all these norms. And I'm very proud to say that my school gives us a lot of opportunities to explore this side. And like Rukaya said, there are committees. I was a part of this committee, and throughout the last 1 year, we've come up with a lot of initiatives and hosted many events, which gave a chance to the batch and to our alums, professors, everyone to come be a part of it and actually experience it. So one such one was there was this festival called Ehsas. So it's actually an NGO Mela, and for people who don't understand what a Mela is, it's a festive market kind of situation where you have a lot of people coming up and putting their stalls, and most of these are NGO self-help groups, women groups who come put up stalls to sell whatever they're making. And I think generally people don't realize that there is more to the world than what they can see. People are differently affected, say, by the pandemic, and to come and see, I mean, all these NGOs that came, they were very differently affected by them. The livelihoods were affected. So we got a chance to provide them a platform, give them a social presence, a digital presence for that matter, and I think, and we also got a lot of volunteers. So such events, they actually helped us engage the batch and encourage them to take part in such activities. So I think they're much more accepting now of this.
That's good to hear. It's very inspiring to listen to all those initiatives. So I can hear that there are things happening on all your universities, and that you really value sustainability, but also that you want it to become even more embedded and be more looked at as a holistic thing. So how can we make it even better? What can we do to improve the sustainability even more? So is there anyone who would like to start answering this question? How can we embed sustainability education better in business school? Jeffrey, would you like to start?
Oh, sure, why not? I'll give it a go. So for me, I think sustainability education, so I think there's two sides to it as well. So on one hand, you have the business school pushing it, but I think on the other hand, students should also take initiative and push that. So I think like, you know, a lot of student societies have a lot of potential to do a lot of good work in that area. I understand during my time at university, I tried to push a lot of different sort of, I wanted to do a sustainability challenge, sort of get students to get creative and stuff. Culturally, pushing like multi-business, again, like bringing us in line with our indigenous culture. Of COVID kind of derailed a lot of that, but I think a lot of those initiatives should also come from the ground, because I think like the whole point of, I guess, like SDGs is you kind of go away and you get inspired, but they're not like, I guess, in the traditional sense, like, you know, you go in, you get the university grades and you walk out. It's more like you learn this knowledge, but you need to, you know, really apply it in your general life. Just take that away. So I think in terms, yeah, so definitely like from the student perspective, I think a lot of like the university, like students need to sort of take that next step with the education, with those holistic principles. And I think that, you know, if they give that sort of push, then the business school will, you know, continue to develop more courses, continue to make things more mandatory. I do think that there is value in, definitely for my university, to make a sustainability course mandatory at the first year level, just because a lot of students, it will, I guess, not all courses at my school will feature sustainability at the forefront. So I think having that sort of mindset being ingrained from the very start of their journey at university would be quite valuable. And I think, yeah, promoting those SDGs would give, I guess, that more holistic, different perspective and viewpoint.
Thank you. Sarhana, how do you think we should embed more sustainability?
I was just adding on to Jeffrey's point that I feel it should be a combined effort of the professors and the students. I mean, while you need professors for their expertise and the knowledge that they have in this area, I think student-driven initiatives go a far way. I think student-driven initiatives will benefit in two particular ways. One is that you're actually doing it, you're practicing what you're preaching, and you get like an on-ground experience of it. And secondly, I feel the reception from other students is much higher when it's a student-driven initiative, because a lot of times when there are certain policies or say even events or initiatives that are driven by the institute, people do attend it, they take part primarily because they have to do it. But when they see their fellow batchmates or everyone taking up initiatives, I think it's an added push and it's an encouragement for them to take part in such initiatives. So I think it should go hand in hand.
Thank you. Rokaya, Arsh, do you have any comments? Do you agree that it should go from under or from the top?
First, I agree with what they said. I think it can be embedded if more concepts related to sustainability were embedded in their education programs, more courses, or at least having one chapter in each course that provides that knowledge required, because SDGs are leading the society, or at least it should, because as we all know, it tackles issues faced by different parts of the world. And if we're able to secure the academic side, I think more initiatives and more competitions and activities are more effective in delivering that message to students specifically, in my opinion.
And Arsh, what do you think?
I absolutely agree on every point that everyone has raised so far. What I like to say is that, in the end of the day, professors are people we'll look up to, and we do go to them for guidance, for their wisdom, what they have accumulated over the years. But in the end of the day, we have a sort of parent and child relationship, because we are still a generation apart, and they are, we don't, as much as we respect them, we cannot relate to them and their teachings and values. So we respond to things that are we respond to initiatives that are manufactured by our peers, and we have this thing called, all have FOMO. We all fear of missing out opportunities and things that are happening around us. And I feel like one of the best things that we can do is, for us, we're very passionate about the subject in hand and sustainability. When we have a certain excitement about it, I feel like our peers are so easily manipulated in that sense. They're like, oh God, there's something very exciting about it. There must be something that they're looking into, something about it that actually gets them so riled up and so passionate. And I feel like, yeah, to agree with everybody in this certain discussion that it is a hand-in-hand experience. And as much as the professors have the responsibility to guide us in that direction, we too have that responsibility to ensure that nobody else is missing out on that information.
Thank you. I really appreciate what you're saying. It sounds like you want us to bring out hope and being very positive about this, which I think is a strong message as well. So in the end of the day, we are doing this to become more sustainable. So if we do embed this better in universities, what will that lead to in terms of students going out in their careers and to the society, environment, and businesses? Would you like to start again, Jeffrey?
Sure thing, I can go ahead. So I think, most people obviously understand that today's, I guess, students will become tomorrow's leaders. And I think what's really important is to have that level of mindset. And I think, it's really important that, and I do think it's important, and I have learned through the teaching of, some of the courses, my sustainability, the goal isn't really to help you learn. Well, it is, but it's also, you want to be empowered to take action. And, what I see, in the workplaces, you have these young people with these, inspiring ideas. And I think if they take them to the workplace and pitch them, you'll see a lot of change that happens. And a lot of that thought leadership will come. And I guess there's a lot of positive that will come out of that. And I guess, it's always, like culture always comes first, and then the law, legislation sort of follows it along. So I guess it'll just be really cool to see, that grass, from that seed being planted at that business school level and watching it, I guess, blossom as people, as students, take their own initiative, own ideas into the real world. I think, that's the.
So leadership could be one main takeout from sustainability in business school. Is that a good?
Yeah, I think, that leadership, that thought process, because I think a lot of these concepts, everyone wants to do them, but it takes a bit of courage to be real confident, be proud of what
Sure.
you're trying to pitch.
Yes. So Ruqayya, what do you think? How can this affect?
I think it should lead us to at least learn and acquire some very basic skills and knowledge that would enable every single one of us as individuals to build and have this sustainable future. And another point is, out of sustainable education, it's really crucial and important that we realize what's happening in other parts of the world. It's not just about where we live in our university. I think it's really important to understand what's happening. Why is it happening? How can we address it the right way? And what are the options that we have? What are our next steps? I feel like that's the most, the thing that we should be focusing on the most, from my own perspective, of course.
Thank you. Sadhana?
I think again that the most important benefit will be empathetic and responsible managers of tomorrow. And every business school has its obvious purpose. It'll provide you with the right set of skills and expertise that you require to excel in your careers. But then you want corporate leadership that is ecologically, socially sensitive. Can a business school actually go beyond its obvious purpose and go on to develop social leaders, corporate leaders, And while you're creating wealth for your company, for yourself, can you actually keep a broader picture in your mind? Can you actually understand the kind of the impact that your decisions have on other people? And I think in the last 1 year, through many courses at my school, I have felt a change in myself. I definitely feel I'm much more compassionate and empathetic towards people, understand how my actions will affect them. And if 1 year of such courses can actually make a difference, I think once you make it a habit, once you inculcate in everyone, I think it can take us all a long way ahead.
Thank you. I just want to hold on for you for one more question upon that. You're saying that you have changed a lot. Do you have any examples of initiatives you've done, something you got involved in or produced since you did this journey?
Yeah. So we have this course called Abhyodaya, which is basically a 1 year mentorship program that you have. So we get to mentor underprivileged kids. So it's basically on a weekend basis, something you have interactions with underprivileged. You're allotted a child and you mentor them for a year. Throughout this process, I think I've learned a lot about myself, and I can see the world through someone else's lens as well. Their life is very different compared to ours. And I think it has a very humbling effect on you. You kind of realize that there's more to the world than what you see in a regular day-to-day life. And they have their own set of concerns, issues, and they address it in a very different way. So sometimes it makes you realize that your problems in life are very less compared to what a lot of people are going through. So I think I keep that in mind, and I feel grateful every day. I do think about it very often that we all are very blessed. So it just made me more empathetic for sure. And I think these times are extremely testing and difficult for a lot of people due to the pandemic. So to be considerate to people around you, be kind. These are something that I've really taken from these courses.
Thank you. So Arj, what do you think it will benefit embedding more sustainability education in business school?
Once again, there's almost like no room for me to add anything at all because everyone has made quite clear and distinct points that are absolutely to the point. What I'd like to say is that from my experience while I was studying sustainability in my business school, it has well changed me quite drastically because I started realizing that there's so much in this world that we are like letting go. We are constantly on the day-by-day basis just going by without looking at it and missing out that there's a prosperity, there's a potential that we need to foster and cultivate. And this is where I want to send messages to people, send a message to people in the business school or around the world, whoever is listening to this, that once you realize that there's potential that you are quite missing out on right now, just imagine a prospective world where you wake up and there's nothing, no war, no famine, people are happy. You go to the workplace and it fosters creativity. You have there's equal rights in your workplace and people are just so happy and joyous. And just imagine that. That's what sustainability education will give to you. At least it'll give you the ideology of something like that, sort of dystopia that you would want to live in, and you can work towards the basic skills and values that you can incorporate into just your daily living. That's what sustainability education is going to give you, and then you are going to take the next step to incorporate it on a daily basis and teach other people about it, because it's not, while it is quite unachievable in this current climate, as far as our eyes can see, with all that's going around the world, including the pandemic and all the all the humanitarian crises. But somewhere down the line, as you teach people, you teach the next generation, and this goes down, the values are passed down. I feel like maybe, hopefully, in a century, we'll have that sort of dystopia, and it won't be a dystopia anymore. It will be our reality.
That's very beautiful, very strong message. Thank you, Art. And that is basically what sustainability is about. It's about fostering future generations in a world that we would like to live in. So thank you for that. I think it has been a really good discussion. Is there anyone who would like to add something upon this? No? Okay. I thought it was very great, Sadhna, that you came with an example of what it can lead to. I completely agree that this leads to leadership, it leads to behavior change, changing of values, and these things in turn will hopefully lead to action, people take initiatives, and people getting more happy. So if anyone doesn't want to add something upon that, any examples of what it had led to for you, I would like to thank you for today.